You need to watch this whole build video because this is basically the Warlock version of the hyper-aggressive Arc Hunter build that over 650,000 of you loved. In the background is footage of me using this build to decimate some of the hardest content in the entire game, with a bloodthirsty aggressive playstyle that you will fall in love with instantly. So consider subscribing if you're a part of the 2/3 of viewers not yet in the Build Lovers Club, and let's get to it. Hey Mac. Oh, hey Harold. You looked hungry, so I wanted to bring you some Factor meals. Factor meals? Yeah, they're pre-made microwavable meals so you can enjoy eating well in just 2 minutes or less with no prep and no mess. Oh, so I get them when I'm shopping for groceries and stuff? No. They're delivered straight to your door and are fresh, never frozen meals that save you all of the time of chopping, prepping, and cleaning when cooking regularly. Oh, and you like them? Yeah, they offer so many nutritious options too for keeping my fridge well stocked, and even things like smoothies and juices. Oh, okay. Well, then I'll give it a whirl. Where do I get them? Well, you can just do what I usually do and head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code Mactics50 to get 50% off of your first Factor box. Sweet. Thanks, Harold. No problem. Have fun with your build. Oh, and we will, Harold, because this fine build kicks off with the newly buffed Vesper of Radius Exotic Warlock chest piece, which has a whole lot going on while using an Arc subclass. First and foremost, 1 second after casting your Rift, a large shockwave will be emitted, damaging, blinding, and knocking back all nearby enemies. The Rift will then emit subsequent shockwaves every 5 seconds, with enemies that are killed by the shockwaves exploding, dealing even more damage and also blinding nearby targets. And if that wasn't enough for you, your class ability regeneration is significantly increased when near enemies, with the increased regeneration rate stacking up to a bonus 1,500% when near 6 or more enemies. So clearly this exotic promotes a very up close and personal aggressive playstyle, where the gameplay loop encourages the player to basically sprint into the middle of everyone to drop the blinding damaging rifts that come back instantly when near those very targets. Because of this, there are 2 things that really complement this build, one being borderline required and the other more so optional. The required side of that equation is opting into the healing rift for your class ability, as being this deep in the fight really does require that consistent healing to survive the incoming damage from any enemy that has not yet been blinded or killed. The optional side of the equation that I genuinely can't believe I am recommending in a build video is a glaive. And listen, I hate glaives, and I know that you probably hate them too, but good lord, do they absolutely slap with this build, making you genuinely invincible during the block to allow your Rift's time to send out those shockwaves and detonate everything in existence. If you don't want to use a glaive, that's fine. This build still works completely fine, but trust me on this one and just take it for a spin and at least 1 Grandmaster Nightfall before you write them off entirely for this particular setup. And things with this build really begin to level up when we get into our first aspect, Arc Soul, which grants you and any allies who pass through your Rift an Arc Soul to aid you in combat, in addition to giving you increased Rift recharge rate when allies are nearby. This means that thanks to Vesper of Radius and Arc Soul, you basically have increased Rift recharge rate at all times to fuel this aggressive playstyle. Additionally, while amplified, your Arc Soul will become supercharged, significantly increasing its rate of fire. This amplified buff will be extremely easy to acquire as well through our second aspect, Electrostatic Mind, which creates ionic traces on all Arc ability kills and makes you amplified when collecting those ionic traces. Remember that an ionic trace is an Arc collectible object that refunds 12.5% grenade and melee energy, as well as 15% class ability energy. Additionally, Arc Soul kills and Vesper of Radius Rift Shockwave kills also count as ability kills for Electrostatic Mind, and thus will also create ionic traces. The other abilities we will want to rock with this build for extra damage and ionic trace generation is Pulse Grenade in the grenade slot, Dealer's Choice in the melee slot, and Chaos Reach in the super slot. For the melee, I personally enjoyed Ball Lightning more, as its extra range made it much easier to proc some of the melee-based mods we will have on our armor to refund extra ability energy that we will talk about in a moment. However, Chain Lightning can be exceptional as well for its its jolting capabilities for those of you that would prefer the extra damage. As for fragments, we will keep it simple with the Spark of Shock for jolting extra damage grenades, Magnitude for longer lasting grenades, Amplitude for orb generation on multi-kills while amplified, and Resistance for damage resistance while near enemies. As for the armor mod setup, we want to focus on a typical armor charge setup that provides lots of ability regeneration. And before we get started with that, I do want to mention that some of the gloves mods might be disabled in-game at your time of watching this video. So please check the pinned comment below to see if they have been re-enabled yet. If they are still disabled while you are watching this now, I will not be able to put them in the Destiny Item Manager link for you to save to your Guardian. So I'd recommend joining my Discord server, also linked in the pinned comment, where I'll drop a notification with the updated Destiny Item Manager link when they do become available. You'll want to kick things off with mods that will benefit you greatly when casting your class ability, such as 2 copies of Dynamo on the helmet for a massive chunk of super energy when using your class ability, 2 copies of Bomber on the class item to do the same thing but for grenade energy, and Reaper also on the class item to generate an orb of power on your next weapon kill after class ability cast. And to further allow you to spam your class ability for all of those benefits, specifically the super gains, so you can be using Chaos Reaches every minute, you'll want Focusing Strike and Bolstering Detonation on your gloves to refund a chunk of class ability energy when dealing melee or grenade damage respectively. Up next is Elemental Charge on the boots to receive stacks of armor charge from your ionic traces generated from Electrostatic Mind, along with a copy of Stacks on the boots to double every armor charge stack you receive, as well as Charged Up on the chest to increase your max stack capacity to account for all of those extra charges. These stacks will be spent with Grenade Kickstart on the gloves to allow you to spam your grenade for tons of damage through the Sparks of Shock and Magnitude, and tons of ability energy refund through Electrostatic Mind Ionic Traces and Bolstering Detonation procs. You'll then finally throw an Elemental Siphon mod on your helmet to generate orbs of power on elemental weapon multi-kills. You can finally round things out with resists and stat mods, prioritizing resilience, recovery, intellect, and discipline in that order. And as always, Destiny Item Manager link down in the description, along with some like and subscribe buttons if you enjoy these videos and want to see more. The final thing that I want to mention about this build before getting to the how to play it section is seasonal mods, which are not necessary in any capacity, but can benefit this build a lot, especially the Electric Armor mod that grants increased damage resistance while amplified to make you that much harder to kill in your close quarters combat. As for how to use this build, the main idea here is to rush in like a mad dog to drop your rift near a piece of cover around a bunch of enemies or in a choke point where lots of enemies will rush you. Any non-champion or boss enemy will be blinded by the rift, while the damage from unblindable targets can be soaked by the healing from the rift or from the block of your glaive if you are using one. And remember that your rift is going to be coming back insanely fast thanks to the energy refunds from melee damage, grenade damage, bonus regen while near enemies, and bonus regen while near allies. You'll basically want to use it every time it is available, even if you have a rift already down, because every cast of your rift near enemies will give you a huge chunk of your grenade and super abilities, allowing you to chuck pulse grenades and blast chaos reaches every 5 and 25 seconds respectively. It's genuinely one of the most fun and unique builds I have ever played, and I know that you'll enjoy it just as much as you enjoyed watching this build video. I'll catch you in the live stream. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.